Now, we started the show an hour ago, Darren, with a very concerning, worrying story, and I wanted to get your take on it. It's a syndrome that I think is going on in more and more areas all over Britain. You've been monitoring and watching, like the rest of us, I'm sure, the protests, the peaceful protests by parents outside the Bell Hotel full of asylum seekers in Epping in Essex. What these parents are essentially worried about is that the asylum seeker hotel is quite near local schools. There's been a sexual assault on two local ladies. One was a 14-year-old girl. The guy's gone to jail. Eritrean guy has gone to jail for a year for those sexual assaults. So these are not invented concerns. Now, the story we did an hour ago concerns a primary school to the west of London, the West Drayton area, near Heathrow Airport. It's called the Cherry Lane Primary School, and it's right near the M4 motorway near Heathrow. And there's there it is. There's a huge asylum seeker hotel, a Holiday Inn, just on the other side of the motorway. There it is, 600 rooms in there. Now the migrants are staying there, nothing to do, mostly young men. They leave this place, they go into a pedestrian walkway, underground walkway that goes under the motorway, and here they are making their way to the green grassy area around this primary school. 640 kids at this school between the age of 3 and 11. These are the migrants being escorted by those constabulary coppers, those special officers. Here they are sort of gathering around the school. You're going to see in a second, there they are. You're going to see in a second, bearing in mind this is right next to a school. There they are, this is my favourite shot. Two guys sitting on a school right next to the playground smoking a sheesh pipe. Now, no one is saying that any of these kids have actually been physically assaulted or sexually assaulted or anything like that. But the parents, the local parents, are saying our kids are going to school. This is going on outside the gates every day in every way. They're going to stage a kind of Epping-style protest on Saturday. But you've got hundreds of these guys every day milling around outside the school. In some ways, I don't want to be too blameful about them because they got nothing else to do. But this situation, underneath the subterranean pathway to the local school, 640 kids between the age of 3 and 11, and outside the school gates, people smoking sheesh pipes, hanging around, making a noise, being escorted by coppers. And one parent, we spoke to a dad, one of the dads, a concerned parent, Darren, and he said that the migrants are kind of picked away at the barrier between where they sit and the school, and they were sort of leering at the kids. So he went there himself and repaired this barrier. And it's all being reported to the police. The police apparently 3 weeks ago actually stood at the gates of the door of the school to keep the kids safe. And as I say, I think this is an increasing sinister problem that we have around this country. The proximity of large asylum seeker hotels to schools with young kids in them. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Kev, you're bang on there, right? You might say that actually this is a government that will focus on banning adverts or takeaways from children, but won't ban those who may not share our views, values and cultures from being in such close proximity to our children. Now, we've had several serious incidents this week alone involving so-called asylum seekers. Now, the Liberal left, the likes of the Labour Party and the Lib Dems, they'll say that this has all been blown out of proportion, but I don't think it is, Kev. I think it's actually been blown wide open. Look at the pattern from this week alone that you've been covering on this show. An Afghan man threatened to kill a prominent politician because of the fact that he was pro-border controls and actually wanted to bring about a sensible migration policy. Jailed but not actually deported, by the way. There was a Sudanese suspect involved in a trial in the murder of a young mother. That trial goes on. He maintains his innocence, but it's a Sudanese man drawn up in it.
Accused of stabbing this poor girl who worked in the asylum seeker hotel 23 times with a screwdriver. As you say, he denies that offence, but that trial continues up in Wolverhampton. But again, feeds into the growing concerns.
And then 2 Egyptians and an Iranian man charged with a rape on a Brighton beach. That only came out today. So these aren't isolated incidents. This is a system in important danger because our leaders are absolutely terrified of being called names like racist and all these other things, Kev. And I am so sick to death of it. The liberal fantasy is that everyone arriving here instantly adopts British values, that they're all sat about eating their Marks and Sparks pork pie. Well, they don't. If you come here from countries where women are second-class citizens, or blasphemy is punishable by death, or that you hate Jews, you hate gays, whatever it might be, that mindset doesn't evaporate as soon as you get to sodding Heathrow, right? Integration, it isn't a magic spell. We're coming up to Halloween. Maybe this is what they think, Kev. It actually requires that you come to a country and want to adopt their views, values and culture. They're not doing this. The establishment has actually swapped a position of confidence for a position of cowardice. They'd rather actually insult the public, like those I spoke to you last week about the girls in Epping, the women and girls in Epping who had been protesting, the pink ladies as they've been called.
Yes.
Well, actually they were dismissed and smeared as bigots, as racists, as fascists. They would rather do that than actually admit that their immigration experiment is utterly failing and is actually having really perverse consequences for the British public. So many people from County Durham down to Cornwall are absolutely terrified, Kev. This is the reality, and we shouldn't be afraid to call it out.
Absolutely. And what I think is happening now, Darren, is you probably recall, it was something like 2-3 months ago that I think it was the Sun newspaper got together the shocking tally of the number of asylum seekers who have been charged with serious offences, many of them, or a significant number of them, sexual, many of them violent. As you know, the wheels of justice in this country grind slowly at a glacial pace. So these people, most of them are still awaiting trial. But it was frightening to see how many have been charged. Now, more and more of them are now getting into court and they're beginning to be convicted. So what we've got is the beginning, I think, of a tidal wave of convictions of these asylum seekers. I mean, maybe some of them will get off, maybe some of them are wrongly charged, but the public are going to realise increasingly, I think, over the coming months, the scale of this problem that we have in this country. And to wit, I'm going to play you a bit of video. You may have seen it before, but it is shocking and it plays right into exactly what we're talking about. This is an asylum seeker, Sudanese national, name of Abdul Mawi Ibrahim Adam. He's 27 years old, Swindon he comes from, or that's where he's been staying in an asylum seeker hotel. Now, when he came to this country in 2023, very unusually, by the way, he was convicted of breaking into the country illegally. I mean, he's about the first person I've ever heard of actually getting done for that. But so that was his unlucky fate, if you like. And he went to jail for 7 months. And when he came out, Britain's attitudes were, well, you've done your time, off you go. So he just stayed in the country. And now this is what he did to a local girl in Swindon. Have a look at this. So this is in March. This is this guy, Ibrahim Adam, 27 years old. Now you'll see this now. That's a 17-year-old girl. All she's doing, 9:30 at night, on her way home from work. There you go. That's him trying to kidnap her. He's pleaded guilty to attempted kidnap. Thankfully, some good Samaritans managed to get her away from this guy, from this monster. But I mean, apart from the shocking nature of this video and what's going on, this is a guy who came here illegally, has been in prison, and we just let him, after he came out, we just let him stay, and then he goes and does this. This is the epitome of what's going wrong with our migrant crisis, isn't it?
I agree, Kev. And look, ultimately, if someone is willing to break our laws by breaking into our nation, do you not think they'll go on to break other laws, customs and culture within our country? It's called common sense. And actually, Kev, for you pointing that out, for the Sun newspaper, that august institution pointing it out, that actually there are a litany of these offences being committed every single day that we simply don't know about. Well, actually, they would be accused of xenophobia for that. I say no, Kev. I say it's called noticing. I say it's called paying attention. Britain can indeed be generous, but it can't afford to be stupid. Otherwise, the attacks on young girls, the murder of women is actually something that will become more commonplace. We have enough problems with our own homegrown perverts, paedophiles and all the rest of it, Kev. We don't need to actually import some of them to actually bring about attacks here at home. If someone threatens MPs, if someone attacks women, they shouldn't be rehabilitated. They shouldn't be given a second chance. They should be removed. They are not our problem. They were never our problem. But instead, we've built a justice system that actually forgives the foreign offender and gaslights the victim and those upset on behalf of the victim. If you remember in Epping, you know the lads that protested against it?
Yeah.
The lads got more time in prison than the person involved in it that was charged for sexually assaulting a child.
Yeah, he got a year
Can
and
you
they
believe
got
that?
2 years, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. We have this very lackadaisical... There are two areas where Britain has this sort of staggeringly lackadaisical attitude. The first is just the basic system where we let in thousands and thousands of young men of sexually active age, because most of them are young men between the age of about sort of 17.
And they lie about their age as well,
Yeah,
Kev.
yeah, but most of them are sort of between the age of about 16, 17 and 34, 35, something like that. So they arrive here, they break into our country illegally, they come across in small boats illegally, and we essentially say, welcome. There you go. We'll enjoy Britain. And then we have this other incredible area where our lackadaisical approach just takes your breath away, as we just saw with our friend in Swindon. We send some of them, the lawbreakers, to prison, sometimes for rape or paedophile offences, violent crimes. We send them to prison. They'll do a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. They come out and we go, yeah, well, you've done your time. Off you go. I mean, you know, that guy, when he'd done his jail sentence, he shouldn't have been allowed to stay in this country for a couple of years and then try to kidnap a girl. He should have been deported. It is this sort of slapdash, couldn't care less, shrugging approach we seem to have to this ongoing invasion of unknown foreign nationals that is just jaw-dropping, isn't it?
It is absolutely jaw-dropping, and I think that's why actually so many people are losing their patience and are actually, you know, they say that Brexit has radicalised the British people. I'll tell you what's radicalised the British people, Kev. It's the total inaction from politicians who are so far up their own behinds. I can only suggest that I hope they spray it with some nice fragrance up there, because Honestly, I'm telling you right now, the British people just want you to start with the basics. They want you to deport every foreign offender as soon as possible. They want you to scrap automatic asylum for anyone that has come here with a conviction. We don't even check. You know, they throw their passports overseas with gay abandon, and we say, oh, well, come on in. Don't worry, we'll make a bed for you. Don't worry at all. Meanwhile, I've got residents in County Durham. Some of them are unable to actually get housing, and we have to allocate and prioritise people that have come here from foreign countries. We need to stop actually using compassion as a camouflage camouflage for incompetence, because that's exactly what Britain is at right now. And kindness is very quickly turning into a cost of British life. I do not believe any British life, British girl should ever be the price that we use for kindness. There is nothing kind about allowing this to go on untrammelled, unchecked in our country, and we are wholesale. I don't know if you've seen, Kev, but before you came on air, a independent MP, one of those MPs elected along the lines of Gaza, well, he's tweeted out he's tweeted out saying that actually Aston Villa, they've actually banned Jews, that is those who support a Tel Aviv football club, won't be allowed to attend the stadium to see Israel play. I don't know about you, but that isn't a sign of a virtuous, growing multiculturalism tolerance. It's actually the opposite. It's showing that one religion gets total carte blanche to dictate who can and can't attend football matches. Is that your idea of multiculturalism, Kev? Is that what Tony Blair told us that this great project would expand into? I really, really don't think so. I think we need to call this out. We need to be loud and proud about what it is, and the way in which actually this is transforming our country into something that absolutely no one voted for.
Absolutely right. I'm just looking at the Aston Villa story. I mean, Aston Villa, to hell with you. What a shocking thing to do.
I agree.
They're basically banning Jews. They're saying this is amid fears over safety and security. These are the fears of safety and security that basically happen with any away set of fans. There's always a certain amount of tension between fans. So
Kev, I'm a Newcastle United fan. I don't especially love Sunderland, but I don't think they're going to ban me, are they, from attending the stadium anytime soon? This is actually, it is extraordinary, isn't it? And it shows the signs of the sinking that we have taken as a country when this is seen as acceptable. Let's not forget, this is the football club that His Majesty, His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales, actually supports.
Prince William's club, more for him, but that's a different issue. But I went to Aston Villa last year to watch my team. They beat us. They always beat us, Villa. So I've got other reasons to dislike that Birmingham-based club. But I'm just reading now, Darren, that this ban on the Tel Aviv fans, Jewish fans, let's call it like it is, the decision to ban them has been taken after consultation with West Midlands Police and their safety advisory group. So there's another problem. I mean, I've seen the way our police, the Met Police, police these pro-Palestinian marches, and it's not unreasonable to conclude that coppers are pro-Palestine and anti-Israel. This decision would tend to confirm that.
There's a moral cowardice, Kev. It says that actually those who are protesting, foreign men that we know nothing about, being moved into hotels in large swathes of young fighting age men who are being moved into these places wholesale. You cannot protest and say that you want these people deported without that being brought up in a court of law because you're worried about the safety and protection of women and girls. But you can say that you fear Jews coming to a local football stadium and have them banned from that particular stadium. Does that not go to the very heart of the issue that we have? It's this two-tier approach to absolutely everything. You can have multiculturalism as long as it doesn't offend the one religion that apparently gets more offended than any other. And that is the reality that we have to face. There are good, decent Muslims out there, don't get me wrong. But if we don't stand up and say that we cannot have this two-tier approach to everything from criminal justice to football matches, then we are lost as a country. That's what I think, Kev.
Well said, Darren. And I think this decision that you've alerted me to, this is anti-Semitic. This is an anti-Semitic decision. This is a Jew-hate decision. This is extraordinary. And I hope Benjamin Netanyahu gets involved in this and remonstrates with Aston Villa, because this is just wrong on every single level. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, Darren. Listen, let's go to break, and when we come back, I want to talk about the rape gang inquiry, or rather the rape gang inquiry that never was. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned, folks. Welcome back. I'm still with the Deputy Leader of Durham County Council, Reform UK's excellent Darren Grimes. Darren, let's talk about the rape gang inquiry, or rather the rape gang inquiry that doesn't seem to be happening. You will recall that Labour was extremely reluctant to concede that the worst sexual scandal in British history warranted a full public inquiry. Do you remember Jess Phillips saying, oh, we only need a few local ones? No, no, no. The reason they're reluctant is that most of these awful Pakistani Muslim men of Pakistani origin who were running these rape gangs operated in Labour-run councils, Labour-run areas. So Labour will not emerge well from an inquiry, should we ever get one. But then there was the Louise Casey report, which basically Starmer read, and even he had to say, this was in June, well, I've read it, he said, there's no way we cannot have a public inquiry. So yes, we now agree that we will launch a full public inquiry. Bearing in mind, it is estimated that there are 250,000 victims of this awful scourge, 250,000 young, vulnerable white girls, many of them underage, all groomed with drugs, drink, sexually abused, tortured. It's an extraordinary horror story. This was in, so Starmer finally kicking and screaming in June, said, all right, then we'll have an inquiry. Here we are, October. No sign of it. They're now saying, oh, well, you see, the thing is, we're having a real trouble finding anyone to chair this inquiry. Also, the remit and the parameters are a problem. What I interpret that to be is they're having trouble finding a chairman or chairwoman, chairperson, who will be friendly to Labour and friendly to the Muslim community that the Labour government doesn't want to offend. And also that the remit and the parameters the government wants them to basically be restricted so they don't look too bad in all of this. That's what I think is going on. Either way, it's another scandal that here we are, what is that, 5 months on, no sign of this inquiry even beginning to start.
Yeah, exactly right. There are so many members of the Labour front bench who are facing losing their seats at the next election because of the advent of there are pro-Gaza independents who are chomping at the bit to have them thrown out of their seats. Jess Phillips almost lost hers. Wes Drayton almost lost his. There are a number of them who are dancing on ice when it comes to actually holding on to their own seats. And that's what they ultimately care about. They care about power, not principle. Because if they did care about principle, they'd say, right, let's get someone in who knows a thing or two about this. That could be Maggie Oliver, for example, Kev, who, has been on this station many, many times before. Get her in. It's stalled for, again, after 4 months of Starmer actually announcing to it. And it wasn't an announcement, a principled announcement. He had to be cajoled into actually making that announcement. This ultimately was designed to stall, because every time this issue comes up, politicians promise action and then they hide behind the process once words like ethnicity or Islam actually appear. The truth, it terrifies them more than the actual crimes themselves. So those girls who were failed because of the fear of being accused of racism are going to be failed again, and there will be more girls that come forward saying this has happened to them and they've been failed too, because the police are so utterly terrified, the politicians are so utterly terrified of actually speaking truth. And that shows who's actually in power here. And I worry that actually the politicians are far too often kowtowing to some of the most obnoxious elements who do not actually believe in the rule of law when it comes to the sanctity of these girls and the fragile nature of women and girls and the protection of them, Kev. That's what I believe.
I think you're exactly right. And I think that, as I say, we've got a whole new scandal here. This is the government trying to kick this can down the road. They don't want this inquiry. They made that very clear when the entire nation was demanding an inquiry earlier in the year, when the full horror of this began to emerge with the KC report. The government tried to say, no, we don't need a national inquiry. A few local ones. Yeah, we'll have a look at a few local. And such was the public outcry. Particularly after Louise Casey's report, that even Starmer had to say, OK, we'll do it. Now, they're just not doing it. And we've got to stress, Darren, that, make no mistake, this is still going on. There are still rape gangs operating all over the country. So it is an ongoing disgrace, I think.
It is, of course it is. And the officials will turn around and say, oh, come on, O'Sullivan, you haven't had your coffee the day. We're just saying that we want to get this right. It's complex. We want to get this right. And I say to them, complex only if you're allergic to bloody well honesty. That's what it is. We know what happened. We know what's happening. We know that there is a problem with Pakistani heritage men targeting white working class girls while police and councils looked away. All we're asking for is that people are held accountable for their actions. This isn't complicated. This is actual cowardice. This is bureaucratic paralysis dressed up as some kind of sensitivity training, that we can't trigger people, that we can't say the wrong things, we can't actually upset the multicultural apple cart. And I say to hell with that. They'll say, Kev, you're sowing division, even talking about this with that horrible old Grimesy on your show. Well, look, the division actually started when victims were ignored for the sake of community cohesion. There is no community cohesion anymore because facts aren't racist. The Casey review said that. She isn't some swivel-eyed Tommy Robinson fan. She's actually a Labour peer who was put forward, a baroness who actually already confirmed the overrepresentation of Asian men within these gangs. Covering that up doesn't heal wounds. It actually pours salt in them. I'd actually say it pours acid into them, Kev. You are doing a great disservice. Not you, of course. You'd be more common sense than them. They are doing a great disservice to not only the victims, but to the British public. Appoint a chair, get it done tomorrow. We want every data set. We want to know ethnicity. We want to know religion. We want to know area. Get it done.
Well done. Well said, Darren. Love having you on the show. Will you come on next week?
Of course I will.